It's like when Fox News try to have me go on camera with them when we've announced the arrest. They're claiming that there's a conspiracy to cover up. It's kind of interesting. That's the same network that was conspiring to cover up the DUI arrest of one of their reporters for like months until the NHP brought that out. And then all of a sudden they had to admit that, yeah, she was arrested for DUI. I mean, it's just one of those things. I mean, I understand, so the paper tried to get a hold of me. The issue would come is that I have all the information, everybody else's statements, what they allege have occurred during that thing. And I don't know if I would have been, if I would have had all that stuff, I don't know how much information we're getting through these other sources, other unnamed sources. The only thing I say is I'm not an unnamed source. I'm the sheriff of Knight County, and I'm here to tell you, there's no secret squirrel stuff going on at the Knight County Sheriff's Office. There's no conspiracy to cover up people's misdeeds should they violate, a law or a policy. We take these things quite seriously. We have people out there, and for the most part, these people risk their lives on behalf of the people of Knight County. All right, they have a job to do. And sometimes I think the sheriff's office is the easier pick on than maybe some other county governments. I don't know, but the fact of the matter is, we're here as a public safety service. I think I don't want people having mistrust within the sheriff's office, reading these things, these allegations from unnamed sources, and all of a sudden saying that that there's a big cover-up on the sheriff's office because there's some kind of because people getting special treatment.
I think that's the concern right now.
Right, and I understand. I talked to the narcotics guys after his arrest. I talked to the narcotics guys. I said, "Were you aware of anything?" They go, "No, they weren't aware of anything." I talked to his squad. How's everything going? No, we didn't. This was a shock to us. I mean, it was a shock to me. No one wants anyone, the allegation of some kind of misconduct by a member of their law enforcement agency. But for someone to think that we covered these things up or someone gets special treatment, that ain't the case. I said the 2007 proof would be nowhere. It didn't go anywhere. Travis Huggins said, well, he's compelled to give a statement to Internal Affairs. Compelled to give a statement to what? If I sent you down there with look for any criminality, and in that context, anything was going on in the Knight County Sheriff's Office, and they come up with nothing, then how am I going to go into and abide by the police officer Bill of Rights, having something to go in front of him and say, you have to answer these allegations of what? Because then it goes on, and then you'll have a bunch of problems, because if I did that, then believe me, we'd be investigating a whole bunch of people for things that turned out not to be true. If I hear something, if there's something to it, I haven't started investigations. But there was an allegation of misconduct that was being brought forward by a witness. This deputy, whoever contacted Captain Bill Beck, bringing this to his attention, I would say this, former Captain Bill Beck made the wrong decision given to narcotics. If it was brought to my attention, if Captain Beck during a conversation said, hey, listen, this was brought to my attention, I gave it to narcotics, I went, no, it belongs to Internal Affairs, because I can get a statement from the deputy, who's the member of the sheriff's, he's the one and we have something sustainable, we have something that we can start launching investigation on. We're not just going on a hunch. But when you talk about when a member of the Knight County Sheriff's Office says, well, you get a drug test. Well, we have policies that if they get involved in a motor vehicle accident, they get a drug test. They get involved in a shooting incident, they have to go for a drug test. If there's reasonable suspicion, which is a legal definition, legal term, which requires, articulable facts, not hunches or speculation, which is part of the definition of reasonable suspicion, then we could have done something. There was nothing brought to our attention of reasonable suspicion. If the narcotics squad was aware of something, because Sergeant Horn deals with these individuals on almost a daily basis, it's not like, we're isolated here. One person's isolated. We're a very small agency in a lot of respects, and we contact each other on almost a daily basis. They didn't know anything. In fact, it was a shock to them from what they told me when I went in and spoke to them. And it was a shock to other members of the Knight County Sheriff's when I went to talk to them. And I was everybody at tirade. They have never seen me tirade. The tirade would be if there was a member of this office that had that had personal awareness, not rumor, personal awareness of something like this occurring within sheriff's office, and they chose not to report it, then they're a violation of policy. They could also be a violation of crime, depending upon the culpability in this thing. Accessory, aware of there's a felony being committed, and you're not reporting it, and you're giving the person ability to escape some type of arrest or culpability for their actions. Well, it's a gross misdemeanor. If it would be if we could meet the elements of that. But for someone to think that someone's getting a free pass, why? I mean, why would it be one individual and not everybody else? And the paper mentions that he's Sister Rick Marshall's son-in-law. That doesn't mean anything to me. The fact of the matter is,
treated fairly as
right,
far as you're
right.
concerned.
Everybody gets treated. My responsibility to my office is the responsibility of people that put me here. I'm not hired by the Nye County Sheriff's Office. I'm not even a member of the Nye County Sheriff's Office. I don't fall under the contracts or anything. I don't have any, any benefits except that I get paid by the people of Nye County. But I answer to people of Nye County. I'm put in this office to administrate this office on their behalf. I'm their representative. That's my chain of command, and that's what I'm responsible for. My duty to making sure we have effective law enforcement is making sure the deputies are well educated, they get better treatment, they get they get training, that there's it's across the board, as is where everything else is, that they come to me with a problem, we try to address those problems, we don't throw anybody out or anything like that. My job is to see them making sure they end their career with their full-time service. Some individuals have chosen not to do that based upon their particular actions. But if it's brought to our attention that someone's having some problems, we can refer them to employee assistance. That doesn't mean that if somebody's involved in some type of illegal behavior, they get a pass. The alcohol and drug treatment is also under the ADA. It's considered American Disability Act. It's covered under the American Disability Act. We don't have to, give them an excuse. We should treat them. But they're held accountable for whatever violations of policy or the violations of law that they have committed. It doesn't give them a pass. They don't get a pass to that. But if there's someone in the union that was aware of it, apparently we're believing that there's someone in the union that was aware of something, we don't know, but maybe that this person needed help. They should be, not just for, not in this case, but for anyone within their membership. We're kind of a family, in this case. But like I said, nothing was brought to my attention, Sister Eric Marshall's attention, in reference to, because that's the only staff that's left now,
Can you comment on Rick Marshall's response or reaction to this article?
I'll tell you the truth. I mean, you look at this and you go, you're upset. I mean, you got to be upset because they're dealing with it on the family. Their daughter, he's part of the family and so on. So they're going to deal with it as much as anybody else would deal with a situation like this in the family. I mean, and that's the family side of it. My job is as the sheriff of Nye County to say is that a lot of things in the newspaper were not brought to my attention. The things that were brought to my attention, that would have been brought to my attention with reference to the allegation that Deputy came forward to Captain Beckwith, because he mentioned, well, Deputy did come forward. I don't know if I gave it to the Nacox or not. I remember the 2007 incident. I would have definitely remembered if this, because you're talking about a serious allegation. You're not talking about, he didn't check the air tires on his, because we were required to do car inspection. He didn't do a car inspection, or she didn't do a car inspection before they went out. That's different. You're talking about something that has significant, requires a significant attention. Okay, to not remember if you gave it a car squad or not is not an acceptable answer. To give it to the next squad, if that was the direction that former Captain Beck was going, would not have been a prudent direction that it should have been gone to. It should have went to internal affairs immediately.
Did the new charges or allegations go to internal affairs, the ones where he, has been charged? Those went to internal affairs?
We're doing two investigations because it came out from there was a criminality that we internal. It's you understand. Let's look at it to understand it. If we discover criminality during internal affairs investigation, outside of something else or another source, we can't divulge that. If we find something from the criminal side of it, we can then charge that as a violation with internal affairs. People don't understand it, but that's how confidential these things are. Once you're giving, once you start internal affairs, you're giving guarantee, and you have just a compulsion to speak. Then that can't be used in the criminal side of it, and unless, of course, they find something separate outside. We can't tell them, hey, listen, I found out that this person, was involved in something really heinous. We can't say that because they'd have to find that information outside of the scope of internal affairs. It's really good. People don't understand that. That's why I sent Sergeant Travis Huggins down into Clark County to find out, is there any criminal behavior, any criminality that took place, and if so, bring that back and make sure that you notify the other agency. He didn't notify the agency, and I know Travis Huggins. If Sergeant Travis Huggins was aware of this and aware of what this individual said, I definitely would have got different feedback than when they came back and reported that they couldn't find anything.
Have you spoke to Travis since?
No, I don't know anything. These people leave and they're gone. I don't have to try. I don't talk to them. I mean, I'm not going to talk to them. I don't know. They go. I mean, but I'm telling you, I got debriefed on this.
You said that a detective is involved in possibly giving sources to the Valley Times.
Well, detective, he mentioned detective, there's only 3 detectives. One's internal affairs, he didn't talk to the press. There's only 3. I knew we have a new detective, he didn't talk to the press. So you only have 3. I know one didn't, and I know out of that one, that person didn't talk to the press. So then you have 2. So you're only going like, is this person or that person? But we'll find out. I mean, we're very good at what we do. And not only that, but the members of the Knight County Sheriff's Office are upset about this because they don't want their investigations also to make the Front Valley Times if it's something that should be held within the concept of the confidentiality aspect of internal affairs investigations. The person who reports it, we give them the information. This is the outcome of an internal affairs investigation. Those files are sealed. Unless, of course, there's some type of, unless they get some kind of an order, but you can't, you just can't go in this. It's not up for public, you can't file a Freedom of Information Act for internal affairs investigation unless it's relation to some type of something else. It's got to be a very tight relationship. So these things go off, and they're sealed. I mean, for lack of a better word, they're confidential. So now someone's worrying about who's going to spill the beans. Cops will find out because cops do talk to cops, and they'll get back to us who basically was talking out of school. Now, what happens with that is what's going to happen with anything else. I mean, if it turns out that we can actually file a violation of policy, we will. But the fact of the matter is, there was something that was sent out to the membership by a member of the Knight County Sheriff's Office, which basically puts it very succinctly: don't do it. It's a violation of policy. You're going to open yourselves up to an internal affairs investigation or administrative investigation, and you could suffer the consequences of culpability if you violate the policy, and so on and so forth. I mean, we're not trying to keep a closed shop here, but we have to maintain the integrity of internal affairs investigation. There's a criminal investigation going on that's going to be handled by the DA's office. And there's an internal affairs investigation being handled by internal affairs. How both of them turn out is going to be based upon what happens at the end, how much culpability there is, and and how the process proceeds, because there is a process to it. It's not, they have a process that we are going through. The problem with what happened in the Front Valley Times with this information leak is now the investigation took a whole new dimension because those words or that information was brought out is bringing a different dimension into that, because now the investigation is going to expand into who violated policy, who violated the confidentiality of an internal affairs investigation, and believe me, is that if anybody turns out and they lied during an investigation, and it turns out that we find out that they basically lied through those sources, you're only talking about less than 40 people here. Then they can wind up, because it'll be garantized.